All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
What up, everybody? Greetings from Washington, D.C. for yet another day. It is great to be with you. As you know, we're on remote. This is a live broadcast from Washington, D.C., the seat of government. Yes, the seat of...
I can feel the power.
Can you feel the lobbyist payoffs from here? It's a great... yes.
I can feel the corruption.
Yes, the lavish steak dinners, the quid pro quo, the this for that, you know, the recriminations, the political recriminations. Oh, it's a big cesspool of nasty in Washington. But it's also a beautiful city. It is cold, I might say. So, as you know, the Northeast is in a tremendous cold snap with wind chills well below zero. That's not the case here, but it is still very cold. We just have a piece of that here in Washington, D.C. I want to welcome Tony to the mix today, everybody. Come on, Tony. Yeah. And Kim, of course, is here. We have a pretty cool show ahead. Let me give you a brief sense of what's up with the show here. So here we go. The 11 o'clock hour, as you're aware, on Fridays is made up of Jim Avila and Michael Shure, who look back at the week in politics. There is news with the GOP Congress increasingly controlled by the radical right. I'd suggest that the decisions being made are specifically made to mollify those people, right? To make happy the extreme wing of that party. So what you end up seeing, as speaking of political recriminations, is they throw out Ilhan Omar, they throw off of committees, they remove from committee assignments key Democrats. You saw it with Schiff as well. And they install a lot of these extreme right Congress people in those same committee assignments. So we're going to talk a bit about that with Michael Shure and with Jim Avila. There is a major diplomatic crisis, and I'll get to that in a moment. But we will touch on that as well. And there are any number of other political issues that we will get to with Michael Shure and Jim Avila. You know, we had touched on earlier this week, the presidential race is starting to heat up on the GOP side. You know, people are not standing aside for Donald Trump. And so we'll touch on that as well, the Nikki Haley announcement, for example, and what is increasingly looking as though it's a crowded GOP field. Now, Trump emerged from a crowded GOP field once before in 2016 and won the presidency. But we're going to obviously look at an America that's a little different, sort of hip to Trump in some ways, and yet also warm to some of the Trump policies, which are being articulated by some of those people, from Nikki Haley to Ron DeSantis, et cetera. So we'll get to all of that with Michael Shure. I do want to, you know, the Pledge of Allegiance moment and the way that AOC owned the GOP leadership in a moment on the House floor is something we will visit with them, and we'll play that audio for you. So all of that. Hey, bottom of the hour, Friday Fabulous Florida. And of course, Michael Snyder finishes our show with a look at movies and television. I have some cool news from California, and I do want to get to the Chinese thing. So any business we have to do, Kim, before I get started?
Vilma's asking if you're in a hallway, and it is true that you have changed the backdrop today.
Yes, this is a, it's not a, I guess it looks like a hallway. It's just the, what would you call that? Is that the threshold or the...
An entryway?
You know, entryway, thank you. I'll tell you why I changed the shot. You know, I like to be completely forthcoming, Vilma, and all of our regular viewers and listeners. Yesterday was fine. You could see out the window. I kind of like the backdrop where you can see out the window. But I noticed in replay, because I was kind of looking at the shot in replay, that I looked like my It looked like I was chewing tobacco or something. My mouth looked black, you know. It looked like so I don't know. No one mentioned it to me,
Too
but a
many
lot of
shadows? We didn't. I
might have
thought you
been
looked normal.
shadows. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, all
What do you
right.
think it was, Tony? Do you have a thought on that?
Probably lighting, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
just
lighting.
the
So
the camera's compensating because if the background's too bright, it'll start to basically make you in silhouette. So
right.
I'm guessing teeth and
I,
stuff. Just that was the first thing it kind of like silhouetted.
so I just thought I would change it because I thought it was weird. It was distracting to me. You know, look, it's not. This isn't the ideal setup anyway. As you know, I don't have a microphone. I'm speaking into this. Tony didn't realize I'd forgotten the microphone. Tony gave me the microphone and the whole setup, and of course,
Really nice setup.
on a really cool setup. And in our first broadcast from here, I already did a major apology on that, Tony. So I'm not going to apologize again. But I whipped myself thoroughly with the self-flagellation of. It's such a classic Mark Thompson move to forget the microphone when you have everything else. It's such a classic move on my part because I'm in such a hurry to grab everything going out the door. So anyway.
So anyway, now we've got the living room. Is this the living room behind you? This is lovely.
It is an extension of the living room. It was my dad's vision to do this, and it's now just it's really pretty.
Yeah.
But it is a collection of stuff. Can you see over my shoulder right here? There's like I don't know if that's a racquetball racket or a squash racket or something.
Yeah.
Okay, now my dad, who was in the hospital, that's why I'm here, and it's these are kind of tough times, right? So my dad's not playing squash. Okay, I mean he hasn't. There's not like some squash game that he's missing because he's in the hospital. He hasn't, but he was an avid tennis player up until he was about 88 years old.
Wow.
In fact, my dad, I'll just tell you this quickly because I think it's sort of charming and speaks to how you never want to let go.
Yeah.
He has played tennis all his adult life, and he was, and I used to play with him and try. I couldn't beat him as a teenager, and even a guy in my 20s. I wanted to beat him so badly, but I just couldn't. I was in my head and all this stuff, and even my father said, "It's tough to beat your father. It's tough to beat your father," and he had this near fatal accident about 8 years ago. He had it, and after the accident, really thought
accident?
a car accident.
Okay.
Full on broke 12 ribs or 12 bones on the right side of his body, and was totally was in that ICU for 6. I think I forget all the particulars. It was awful. Yeah. So afterward, he came back. So again, he's 92 years old. I feel very lucky that he's alive at 92. And I feel additionally lucky that he survived that accident that I'm talking about. So, we're doubly playing with house money, if you want to think of it that way. So after the accident and after rehab, he actually went back to playing tennis.
Wow.
And this is what I mean when I say it's hard to let go.
Yeah.
I say, Dad, how are you doing with tennis? And he said, well, honestly, I find I'm a little late on the backhand side now since the accident. Dad, you don't see how miraculous it is that you can play tennis at all since the accident? Who cares if you're late on the backhand side? He was expressing frustration that he couldn't quite get his timing back since the accident. So, but he gave up tennis, I think, when he was 88. And still, though, it's like a prop house back in this house in many ways. There are
sometimes you're not, you're not ready to let go of the racket. You don't want to go hang it up because, you could play.
Very, very.
And there it is, in case you want to grab it. So just fine.
Very, very, very true. Smash the like button like a boss from my dad. And for our broadcast today live, and let's get started. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We have a spy balloon that's hovering over Montana, as you're probably aware. By now, it's something of a major international incident because the Secretary of State, Blinken, was supposed to go over to China. It was, I think, largely because of differing agendas, a meeting that wasn't likely to yield anything substantive, might be a way to put it. We can talk to Avila and Shure about this. But it was a symbolic meeting And, as we've said before, symbolism can be important. But now it's awkward, and it's probably not going to happen. Here is a piece from GMA that kind of sets the table on it.
Well, good morning, George. National security officials say they are monitoring this Chinese surveillance balloon that traveled from Alaska through Montana here and is still on the move. Pentagon officials telling ABC News they decided not to shoot the aircraft down, but they're leaving all options on the table.
This morning, a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon hovering over the northern United
States. By the way,
States
is there any time when they don't leave all the options on the table? I find that's the default, like the F7 key of all diplomatic situations is all options are on the table. Seldom do they say, well, we've taken a lot of options off the table. They never, all options are on. But they're not going to shoot this thing down. I mean, they want to try to handle it, but it is, without question, a major diplomatic international incident. Now,
John says what we need is a giant pin.
Go ahead, Tony.
United States government has detected and is tracking a high altitude surveillance balloon that is over the continental United States right now.
The balloon seen here flying over Billings, Montana, where it forced a ground stop at the city's airport, halting all commercial and general aviation flights in order to clear the airspace. It's roughly the size of 3 buses, with a technology bay attached beneath it, believed to be carrying high-resolution cameras, according to a senior U.S. official. Sources describe it as an aircraft designed to travel in a purposeful path, one that includes a number of sensitive U.S. sites.
These are balloons that can be used for surveillance, for Earth observation, but they can also be used for military purposes. In this case, perhaps the Chinese were looking to collect high-fidelity imagery of sensitive U.S. sites, where they may have been intercepting communications, but they also could have been testing U.S. air defenses.
A senior defense official saying they are confident the balloon was sent by the Chinese government. And this isn't the first instance this has happened in recent years.
Once the balloon was detected, the U.S. government acted immediately to protect against the collection of sensitive information.
This morning, the Chinese government cautioning against what they describe as hype, claiming they're still gathering facts. The Pentagon, now closely tracking the balloon, says it currently poses no physical threat to civilians, commercial aviation, or U.S. military assets. Still, on Wednesday, defense officials say, as a precaution, the U.S. Air Force mobilizing F-22 fighter jets in case the order was made to shoot down the balloon. The contrails seen here in this image.
It may have been possible for the U.S. Air Force to shoot this balloon down, but that also raises a risk. And that risk is if the missile misses, or even if the missile hits the balloon, it could send hot shrapnel down on civilian areas anywhere in Montana.
Well, U.S. officials say the path the balloon appears to be taking flies it directly over some sensitive U.S. sites, including one of the nation's 3 nuclear missile silo facilities at Malmstrom Air Force Base here in Montana, George.
Okay, Mullah, thanks.
So with that, you have an overview. I think it's interesting. I don't know if this is true, but Al Anonymous had a point posted again saying that the balloon is at a super high altitude. Okay, he says 80 to 100,000 feet. The F-22s top out at 60,000 feet. He says ballistics wouldn't work to shoot it down. Plus, government lawyers say they don't want to risk the liability. They noted that in the story. I don't know if those altitudes are accurate or if what you're saying is purely accurate, Al. But I have to believe that if they wanted to take it down, they could. But I might be wrong. The other thing I would just quickly note is that there are a lot of low-level satellites that are doing surveillance on countries all the time. We do it. Other countries do it. China does it. I don't mean to in any way backburner this or play down. But what I'm suggesting is the fact that there's surveillance activity in itself isn't a surprise. I think that it was identified this way, and as I say, that it has become this something of an international diplomatic incident. I mean, that's a legit story, and at a time when China and the U.S. are trying to get some footing diplomatically, it puts us in a tough position.
So here's my question: don't they know we're going to see it? I mean, it's obvious. So why wouldn't they just use satellite pictures instead? Why do we need balloon technology at this point?
Balloon technology does seem super low.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason for it. And I have to say that my exposure to balloon technology is in the weather area. In meteorology, they send up these weather balloons, And that's for a particular purpose, and that is as the balloon goes up, it is vertically imaging, if you will. I don't mean it literally imaging, but it's monitoring and feeding data back on different levels of the atmosphere. So it's going from the ground up, and that way it gets all of those different levels. Here, for pure spying from above, I agree with you. It would seem to me spy satellites could be just as effective, especially now with those technologies incredibly good.
Well, you
I don't
assume
get it.
that the spy satellites are working. You kind of just know that that's happening, but here it's obvious and kind of a, a provocative thing to send one of these balloons over a foreign country. I don't know. I think that's kind of a dumb move.
They,
And I
I
don't
would
know why
suggest
we're
that.
still letting it float around up there. I mean, why can't we take? I heard the shrapnel concerns and whatever else. I don't know why you wouldn't get it down some other way, push it somewhere else.
I mean, I think it's hard. I think you can't take it down in the ways that I think, could touch on, and was touched on in that story. In other words, you do want to worry about where this stuff falls, right? How else would you take it down? It's way up, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I don't think there is an answer to that. Otherwise, it would have been detailed in that piece, B, be talked about right now. Everything I've read doesn't suggest that there's another way to get rid of it. But I know,
balloon. How hard can it be?
I know no options are off the table. I know that.
We do know that.
Yeah. But on the one hand, it's a balloon. On the other hand, it's, you got to be careful about how you handle it. I do have this that there is. I think this is kind of a major announcement. Stand by.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I made an announcement from California. Well, I promise you we'll circle back around to the China thing along with everything else with Avila and Shure in the next hour. But this news is from California. And Tony, if you will favor me, I believe it is a major announcement.
A major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show. A major announcement.
This weekend, something happens in California that is really cool, and it's happening in Willits. Shout out to Willits. Edie Ceccarelli.
We have a listener in Willits. I'm just shout out to
have
Sharon.
at least one listener, Sharon, and I think there might be a couple of more. I used to get a lot of calls from Willits, and when on KGO. Edie Ceccarelli will be celebrating birthday this weekend, February 5th. She will be the oldest person in America. And now, the oldest person in America. And let me tell you that I asked my mother this question last night, and she got it right away, the answer. How old do you think she'll be to be the oldest person in America? I will ask you in the chat. Please monitor the chat if you would. Yes. How old will Edie be?
How old will she be, huh?
Yeah. The oldest person in America. Albert has trimmed our millionaire.
Ooh, lots of answers coming in already. I'll start at the beginning here. Wow. 111.
106.
From William.
111. Yeah,
112. 108. 114. Anonymous says 109. 112 from John Watson. 115 from Neman. 121. 110, the surface spins. 117, Jim. 109, huge in Japan. 114, 106, 110. A lot of 110s.
Yeah, 110 is a very good run.
115, Lisa. What do you think?
The actual retail price, 115 is what she will be on Sunday. That's right. That's I think that was guessed. Neiman guessed it. And it was guessed along the way. And as I say, my mother guessed it right away last night when we were just talking about it. So congratulations to her. Now, about her, she's the oldest living person in the United States. She is not the oldest living American-born person. There's a woman in Spain who is American-born, but now living in Spain.
Oh.
And she is older. Yeah.
How old is she?
Maria Morera. She is, it doesn't say. I presume we're talking about months older as opposed to years older.
Oh,
Don't you
okay.
think at 115? We're getting to
Yeah.
pretty rarefied air. Yeah. But it doesn't say. Actually, I can find out, though. Hang on a second. You've asked. I'll find out. Yeah. Okay, so she's 115 years old also. But she'll be 116 on March 4th. And you see,
Oh, you broke up a little bit there. What'd you say?
she is 115 now, and she'll be 116 on March 4th. The woman, Maria Morero, she lives in Spain, but she was born in America. Whereas Edie will be 115 coming up this weekend. So
Nah, if you moved away, you don't count anymore. You gotta go with Edie. I'm sorry.
Well, we're nothing
My
if
bad,
not
I'm
U.S.
sorry.
centric. Yeah. Anyway, our best to Edie Ceccarelli in Willits,
Yeah.
born on February 5th, 1908.
How
She's
must that feel to be
forced
the
to
oldest
celebrate her
person
150th
in America? Like, either it's a great feeling or you just feel like, oh my God, what am I still doing here?
Yeah, she looks happy, but you never
Yeah, she
know. I'll
does.
tell you when I was trying
She
to
looks
find pictures
great.
of her. Yeah, but Kim, remember we were trying to find a picture where she wasn't a caregiver?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, life changes at that age. But look, life can be great, and we certainly wish her the best. Happy birthday, Edie. Tony, that is our major announcement.
This has been a major announcement on the Mark Thompson Show. Major announcement.
Why are they always women? John asks. That's such a good point. I mean, just women live longer. I think women are built to last. Women take, the whole childbirth thing. I feel like women endure pain generally, maybe better than men do. I think there are many studies through the years that bear this out. But how old is the oldest man living in the United States? Kim, maybe you can.
William.
Check that.
William has the answer there.
George Santos, who be 124 on his next birthday, and he looks really great.
Google it.
Yeah. So somebody can check it out for us in the chat and let us know the oldest man. I do want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of our show. And he is not with us live, but I'd like to give him a shout nonetheless.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He is Steve Moskowitz, and he is someone who has kept Bay Area residents and California residents in the very best of times and the very worst times, getting every benefit they can from the government and helping you shield money that the government isn't entitled to from the government. And so you can reach him at 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. The thing about Steve is, as I've mentioned to you before, he's seen it all. He's seen situations where people haven't paid their taxes for a long time. He's negotiated with the government. He's negotiated down tax bills, tax liens. You may be in a tough spot where you need real help, or you may be flirting with a tough spot. Either way, Steve can help you. The other thing I wanted to mention, and again, I've mentioned this before, but I think it bears repeating, is that as you set up a business, it might be a side hustle, it might be a little thing, you do have tax exposure. Don't let the government come after your business and come after money that they're not entitled to. Let Steve help you set up that business. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. 888 TAXDEAL. It's MoskowitzLLP.com. You can reach them through the website. Ping the website. Send them an email. Say, hey, I heard Mark talking about you, and I want to ask you a question. Maybe you can help me, maybe not. He's very, very cool. He's one of the most approachable, across the fence kind of guys you're ever going to deal with. And his whole firm is like that. 888 Tax Deal and MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve Moskowitz.
The Mark Thompson Show.
So what's happening in the chat? Anything I need to attend to right away or not, Kim?
Nope, I think we're good to roll on.
All right. So the plan is that Kim will do news bottom of the hour, and we'll do Friday Fabulous Florida. There is a story before I get to Friday Fabulous Florida, and we will be joined in Friday Fabulous Florida by former executive producer John Daly, everybody. So that's very exciting. There is a story that's Florida-esque, and it's definitely bizarre today. A woman mistakenly pronounced dead is gasping for air when she's found by the staff of the funeral home in a body bag. It took place in Iowa. They're facing fines, this Iowa care facility, totaling $10,000. And by the way, don't you think fine should maybe a little bit more than $10,000 after mistakenly pronouncing a 66-year-old resident dead? 66 years old is not
Glen Oaks of Iowa. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a nice place.
They keep it nice by shipping out the live people and the dead people. She woke up gasping for air, and she was in a funeral home when she woke up. The Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals, they talk about a woman who is mistakenly pronounced dead. They're at that Glen Oaks High Special Care. She was moved into hospice care, and this is all because of her senility. This is all from the report. While in hospice care, comfort measures were taken over the course of several days. Staff members recorded occurrences of diminished lung sounds and minor seizures. On January 3rd, just a few weeks ago, the woman was pronounced dead after an employee said that she did not feel a pulse and found the resident was not breathing at that time. I guess they went with that one employee's take on the situation.
Oh my gosh.
She notified a licensed practical nurse. The woman's family was alerted, and a local funeral home was called. This was like they put everything on blast. They have a routine. The funeral director arrived, and with the assistance of another nurse, identified the resident and placed her in a body bag, which was zipped shut. The funeral director left the facility, and it was at the Ankeny Funeral Home and Crematory where they unzipped the bag, and they observed the woman's chest moving as she was gasping for air. The funeral home then called 911 and the care facility. They were able to record a pulse and breathing when EMS arrived, and the resident returned to the care facility. Wow. I'd be like, take me anywhere but the care facility. The poor woman has Alzheimer's. The facility
she was gonna die. Like she was on her last legs. Not saying that they shouldn't have.
Oh my God.
But I'm just
we
saying,
we are so quick to ship people off if they're anywhere close to dead. So
they were on the death watch. She was expected to make it.
Hey guys, look, she was close. Okay, I'm sorry. Really, you're gonna fine us for this? Wow, not a good look. Not a good look.
Hey,
yeah, this is right. Al Nana says, really, she's at the crematory. What if she didn't gasp until being placed inside the crematorium?
Oh, Lord.
That's
awful.
She died 2 days later, Eric says. Fine. She died 2 days later. Now she's dead after 2 days later. That's when you can take her to the funeral. We all understand she's close to death. right?
Jump the gun a little bit. What do you want? I mean, let's make a national story out of it. Come on.
So many of you have hit us with super
Uh,
stickers and super chats to support the show in so many different ways. Thank you. We're a crowd-funded show, so appreciate that. What I am I do want to ask you, am I breaking? I'm breaking up and choppy
A little bit,
Tony?
yeah.
yeah.
I would say during the news, drop and come back, and
Yeah.
that probably should fix it. You're just kind of, it's just
Okay.
like you're pixelated a bit, and just a few bits of words were dropped. Not bad,
Yeah.
but it can be better.
Don't take me to the funeral home right away. Okay, make
No,
sure that
you're looking pretty dead. We got to. You're done. Bye.
Disconnect. Kim can handle the full range. All right. Anyway, we'll do Kim's news, and we'll get into Florida next. We'll be joined by John Daly, as I say. So, good times still ahead.
The Mark Thompson Show.
That would be Kim's theme music, if you have it, Tony. Her big over-the-top theme music.
Yeah. It's okay.
Hold
I can
on.
do
We
it
have,
without it. though.
Hang on one second.
There you go. That's right, Tony. Bring it, baby. On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. This next story is about COVID, but I'll take any opportunity I can to show a picture of Dr. Peter Chin Hong. Yes, there he is in all of his glory. California declaring the end of COVID state of emergency by the end of February. UC San Francisco infectious disease specialist Dr. Peter Chin Hong telling NBC Bay Area, this doesn't mean COVID is gone. Anyone in need of a COVID test or vaccine after the emergency expires will have to go to their own medical care provider. That's it. That's the end of the freebies. The U.S. economy added more jobs in November and December than initially reported, which is a good thing. The latest jobs report from the federal government revealed 290,000 positions were created in November. December numbers also revised upward as there were 260,000 jobs added. More than 500,000 migrants who cross the southern border reportedly have been released in the United States without any formal follow-up. NBC News reporting close to 600,000 asylum seekers were let go without charging documents or a court date since March of 2021. This report comes during a surge of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border and increased scrutiny over the Biden administration's immigration policies. A former Michigan police officer will stand trial for allegedly killing a black man during a traffic stop because a judge refused to throw out the murder charge filed against former Grand Rapids police officer Christopher Shure, who's white, is charged with the shooting of Patrick Loya in the back of the head after a tussle that included Loya grabbing Shure's taser. Some pretty puzzling cases involving human remains in 2 different states. So here's the story on this. Police in San Bernardino, California, are looking for a man who walked into the police station and left animal remains and a human jawbone right on the public counter and then walked out. In Ohio, a man says the cremated ashes of a friend were returned after being stolen from his car at a Toledo area restaurant. So that's interesting. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, Steve Moskowitz is a great guy and extra smart. He's at 888 Tax Deal. He's also, you can see at the bottom of your screen, at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show. Let's see if he's back.
I am back.
There you.
I am back. I'm trying to coordinate also to see if John Daly. Oh, John Daly is here. I know it's a little bit of a challenge when we are on remote like this, as we have been live from Washington D.C. And so apologies.
You ready?
Yeah, please.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. People, we're slowly getting hip to formatics, but we love that everybody. It does take a village. So thank you. John, I will welcome you in now, and maybe you can help us, particularly given the fact time. in and out.
Whoever is
Pixelated
producing this
signal.
thing,
Uh,
I don't want to say it's a train wreck.
Yeah, it's we are at the mercy of the fates here, John, when it comes to signal. But please put it together for former executive John. Yeah, I think that's very, very cool. John, maybe you can help us with the shout outs. We love that we're crowdfunded and the crowd has decided to step up with funds. We were demonetized, John, for December, so we're trying to make up a lot of.
Oh, I'm aware.
John was very helpful before he got this big tech job, and he had to leave us for a real job with benefits. He was helpful in trying to navigate the almost unnavigatable world of YouTube. So thank you very much. And YouTube continues to be both the thing that permits all things and the thing that limits all things. It's a weird relationship. All right, let's get some shout outs going though. Yeah. What do you Sharon Kidd, $49.99 in honor of Edie. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's right. 115 years old in Willits. Continued prayers for your family, Mark. Hugs to
Thank
Kim.
you so much.
Thank you so much. And a big shout out. Yeah. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
You're such
Thank
a
you.
regular viewer and supporter. Thank you. Andreas, Mark, are you back in the
back in the closet?
I'm back in the
Big
closet.
shout out.
You were right. Yeah.
Oh, wait, but it's not over. You know, Andreas.
No. Mark, stop worrying about Trump. I'm not supporting him. He is dead in the water. $20 from Andreas. All right. For that, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
Wait, it's not over.
What? How is Dad? What is the doctor saying? Wow. Well, first, a big Dan Ashley
Big shout out
to acknowledge your donation. And I'll tell you that we need to get Dad stronger. He's weak. COVID flattened him. On December 18th, I sat right here at this table, talked to Mom and Dad. We walked around, and Dad was fine. Okay. And now he's way not fine. So that's the power of COVID, and he is making incremental progress, but he's still incredibly weak. So we have to get him strong, so we get him out of the hospital into this sort of rehab setting where they're trying to get him stronger is where he is now. And I'm hoping that, he continues to show even incremental progress. Andreas, we adore you. Thank you.
And one more.
Where's the balloon over China?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we sent our own up there.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So that's $80.
Yeah, where is our balloon over China? That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a balloon. We need a balloon. Andreas,
I think we've moved
past
past balloons.
Yeah. Well,
we have the satellites that are zooming in on your fingernail.
It is true. And they have them also. China has low-level satellites as well. So anyway, Andreas, thank you, sir. Anything else? TG, in honor of the fabulous JD. Look at you, John Daly, getting a shout out. Get well soon, Mark's dad. Thank you, TG.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, TG, for $20. Appreciate it so very much. We need every bit. I thank you. John Snyder, who is our consigliere. Love and blessings to your dad. John, I love you and thank you.
Thank you
really,
so much.
Thank you so much, John Snyder. John Snyder's a big deal. It means a lot that he's helped with this show. Peg Thompson, great last name. Peg, 1999. Big shout out. Yeah. Thank you, Peg, for the 1999 super sticker. You can leave super stickers and super chats all through the broadcast, even after the broadcast is over. A little choppy today, I know, John. Isn't it truth? Look at that handsome stud, John Anderson, with that beard. Wow. Thank you, John. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. $10. Thank you, though, John. And you're right. I'm a little choppy. So, Flo Galvez, come on, Flo. What up, Flo? $4.99. Nice. Super sticker. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Every little bit gets us there. Luz Espinosa. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you, Luz.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the $4.99, Luz. Thank you for every little bit. James Buchanan, JB, what up with the super sticker?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'll leave the rest for next time around.
That really, really, really cool. Thanks for the help, and thanks for all of that. You can leave us super stickers
really
and super
kind.
chats. If you're watching in replay, there's a little heart with a $sign on it. You can click that heart and leave us something that way. Also, we have Patreon and PayPal. That's the way you reach us as well, with an ongoing contribution, crowdfunded, say. So that funding does sustain us. We have only one advertiser, and that's not enough to meet payroll. We're grateful for Steve Moskowitz, but we need your help. So thank you. Go to themarkthompsonshow.com, and you can click on Patreon or PayPal and make a contribution that way.
And don't forget to smash the like button.
Oh, yeah. Smash it, boss.
Smash it
the
with your
like
iron
button.
rod.
Right on. With your iron rod, do it. That's the best way to smash it, don't you think, everybody? Let's
Unless
be
you're Andreas, bringing the Greek rod.
Oh, the Greek rod is just, it's really only available to Andreas for the Greek rod. So the rest of us are.
That comes with like lightning bolts, right?
It does.
You would think. You would, yeah.
Quite a spectacle.
Well, I'm
and a great
pixelated
salad,
a
some
little bit
dolma.
as we're on feta cheese.
Feta
I
cheese.
will, without any further delay, I do need to, I need to play a stinger, and then I need to do a Florida Open. Hang on a second. This will work.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And now, this is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
If something happens to my signal, I trust that my colleagues will pick up the slack.
Well, maybe.
You're breaking up more today than you have been. We might need to move you back to the kitchen.
Okay. If you want to take the lead, you can. I mean, I'm happy just to have you.
Have you tried power cycling your modem?
I've tried turning off the entire house for 15 seconds and turning it back on again.
They're back on. Yeah.
I like your red microphone, John Daly. That's slick.
Thank you. Do you like my headphones? You know who gave these to me?
Gene Burns?
No. These were given to me by
all roads lead back to Gene Burns, John.
Yeah. These lead back to Brett Burkhart.
Oh.
So these are Sennheisers. These are really nice. And Brett moved up. The funny thing that a lot of people don't know about radio is the radio station does not give you headphones.
Nope. No, you have to bring your own.
That's a thing, which is funny. You know, it'd be like going to McDonald's and it's like, yeah, you got to bring your own headset.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's pretty great. That's pretty great.
Like, uniform.
You don't need, I don't need the tools to do my job. That's fine. Yeah. But Brett gave me these. They're really nice.
That's nice.
Florida man.
We love Brett.
Can I call this courtroom to order? We're supposed to be doing Friday Fabulous Florida.
Oh, yeah. We even played the open and everything. Okay.
Oh, my God.
You are running behind, by the way.
Yeah. We'll have time at the recess to visit more. A Florida man threatened employees with a gun when his chicken wings order was late. Yeah. He's accused of pulling a gun on restaurant employees when his online order of chicken wings was nearly an hour late. Matthew James Davis, he's 35, of Naples, Florida. He was arrested, charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He threatened employees at a Wingstop restaurant in Naples. He placed an online order for chicken. The store promised that his order would be ready within the hour. But when he arrived, it was not ready. Davis was angry. He began pacing in the waiting area, as one might when they're waiting for a late chicken order.
He was hangry.
He was not satisfied when an employee offered him a free drink while he waited. He then told that employee who was trying to be so nice. He said,
what you can do with your free drink?
I'm going to get my strap.
Oh.
Meaning his gun. And they're going to see that I'm not playing, he said to the employee. At that point, he left the restaurant, retrieved a gun from his white van. What a surprise he has a white van. Employees and witnesses later said that they feared for their lives. After an investigation, he met with sheriff's detectives, and according to the affidavit, he said that his outburst occurred after his mother's death, and that he was stressed out, and that was the reason for the outburst. He didn't mean to intimidate anybody.
No.
Well, in his defense, it was an hour waiting for chicken wings. So
Well, he could have gone hunting, got his own chicken.
Yeah, by then,
Yep.
right. A Florida man is seriously injured after flying a homemade airplane in Volusia County. He's a 78-year-old guy. I love it when the 78-year-olds are out there doing stuff. His airplane crashed in the woods, and he was seriously injured. You might
Who saw that coming?
Yeah, exactly. What could possibly
His
go
wife.
wrong?
Don't buy the experimental aircraft and try to put it together yourself.
Do you remember your glasses? Don't forget your glasses.
Kim has a picture of the plane. There it is. You can see it in the center of your screen.
Oh, the Legal Eagle.
Yeah.
And you can buy it for about $250, $290. It's the plans. It comes with the plans, and you can put it together yourself. So that's what the Legal Eagle looks like.
That's all it costs? That sounds
Yeah,
slow.
well, you have to buy your own materials. You know, it's like bringing.
Okay.
Work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get what you pay for, I might
Right,
say.
apparently.
The engine cut off, according to witnesses.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah, as the airplane. You have to pay $400 for the engine that doesn't cut off. Homeowners arrived at the crash around the woods. There were people who were in the residences around. They found the airplane upside down in a tree. He was still strapped in his seat. He appeared to be unconscious, and they took him to Halifax Health Medical Center in Daytona Beach. Where is that, John? That Halifax Health Medical Center in Daytona? You
It's
familiar with
down the street from the regional headquarters of Whole Foods.
Very,
You know that
cool.
area.
Yeah.
Can you imagine coming up to that scene? You're like, what can you tell us about the scene? There's some old guy in what looks like a plane. He's upside down, hanging out of a tree.
Yeah, you've seen a plane before, right? Imagine a plane you could buy for $200. Okay, that's what's upside down in the.
Well, I'm sure it costs more once you buy all the materials, and then
Oh,
you know
okay.
you've got to buy the engine or build it yourself.
But it doesn't come with the ground crew.
No.
There is
Or a
a
pilot,
wheel.
apparently.
There is a wheel of fugitive that is done by the sheriff in Florida, and this internet video identified this guy as a fugitive 4 times, even though he was either already in jail or on probation at the time of being identified on this wheel of fugitives. So he's saying that he lost his job and was left distressed after this sheriff repeatedly accused him of being a fugitive in this social media video. Again, they put everybody's face on this thing so it looks like Wheel of Fortune, only it's a wheel of fugitives.
It's a wild idea, but it just might
I
work.
gotta say, it's not a bad idea, right?
This comes on right after Fugitive Jeopardy.
You buy the two together as a package.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's a
Wheel of
wild
Fugitive.
idea, but it just might work.
I was expecting this to be Grady.
Yeah, great. Well, there's a reason this place is
There's a
fun.
reason that this place is fun.
Right. And I mean, the Wheel of Fugitive, that's
Yeah,
fun.
Grady, you got to step it up. This guy's kind of like outshining you here.
I do think that this guy threatens Grady's position as the funnest sheriff in all of
in terms of
Florida
production
now.
value.
Yeah. So you can see all the faces there if you're watching on YouTube. Those are all faces of people. And this guy's saying, hey, look, I was not a fugitive during this time, and it's hurt my ability to get a job. And he is suing for damages in excess of $50,000, also saying that this caused him depression and anxiety. Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey, whose office is relatively close to the Orlando area, included his name and image several times in social media posts.
Is he not a fugitive?
Apparently he was not. The wheel contains the photos and names of those whom Ivey considers to be Brevard's 10 most wanted fugitives. And so, as I say, this guy was either already in jail or he was out on probation. So he wasn't a wanted fugitive. And so he's saying, hey.
He could also go for the car.
Yeah.
If he makes it to the end.
Tick, 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 tick.
A South Florida man gets 6 years for dealing meth. This is in Bradenton, Florida. Hector Enrique Velez Veida. Wow, he went with the 4 names. Very impressive. He's from Hialeah. pleaded guilty of conspiracy to distribute 500 grams or more of meth. Apparently, they were part of a meth distribution conspiracy, moving large quantities of high-purity meth throughout central and southern Florida.
Well, that's what you want. You want the high quality, high octane meth.
Right. It's a move. You know, it's a move.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Exactly. And so they got him. He's arrested, and he's pleaded guilty to the entire thing. And he got 6 years for it all.
It'll go by real fast, though.
Yeah, okay. That is my favorite line of this segment. Thank you. Florida man confesses to stealing DJ equipment worth $65,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
He pawned it for $21,000.
Oh no.
It took place in Niceville, Florida. Are you familiar? This is the first story I think we've done from Niceville. A Defuniak Springs man is behind bars in Okaloosa County, charged with stealing nearly $65,000 in DJ and sound equipment and pawning it off for cash. According to the Niceville Police Department, 44-year-old Donnie Lee Roop stole the equipment from 2 storage units. And he worked for the DJ company. That's how he had access to the units.
Yeah.
He was transporting and setting up the equipment for different weddings around the region. That was his normal job. Now, one day he got the idea that, hey, instead of transporting it to weddings, what if I just took it and sold it? And I'll get a lot more money that way. And indeed, the items were sold for $21,000. So they located, arrested Roop. This just happened days ago, and now he is being held on $55,000 bond. That will take much more DJ equipment for him to come up with that bond money. Yeah.
What else are you gonna sell? Yeah.
Meth.
Epcot Center. Epcot Center is the site of a screaming match that a Florida dude began. He screamed at cast members at Epcot and hit security.
You don't scream at Mickey. No.
I hate to see that this place, which is associated with such happiness.
But you notice it never happens in Magic Kingdom because they sell alcohol at Epcot.
Oh, is that why?
So I'm willing to bet my lunch.
That there's alcohol involved? Yeah. Christmas Eve is when this happened, guys, which adds to the, children were nestled snugly in their beds and visions of guys screaming at each other and smacking the crap out of each other were dancing in their head. Loud profanity, screaming, and arguing with employees in the restaurant disrupted the patrons and business from normal operations. Families had to veer out of this guy's way at one point. A grandmother had to grab her child and physically pull her away from his direction, says the arrest report. The arrest report details this incident in talking about the Disney World incident. Do you have a picture of him, Kim? I forget whether you have one or not. No?
No.
It's kind of a typical arrest report pic and booking pic. His hair disheveled. And he's
You could probably just pick another one from Florida.
Yeah, it is a pretty much match. 20-year-old named Dakota Horger, charged with battery and disorderly conduct. There ought to be an upgrade when you do that at Epcot. But
yeah, it's true.
Like you get the park hopper pass.
Comes with an extra fine.
Right. I'm saying you ought. You know how they have hate crime upgrades? They ought to have an upgrade for when
Disney
you do
upgrade.
something at Epcot.
Yeah,
exactly. A Florida man finally challenges everyone to a fight after the bar closes.
I got a picture of this guy.
Oh, okay. This is Cape Coral, Florida. You can see the
He
picture
looks pretty
there.
proud of himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can throw him back.
The night turned to morning, and last call had come and gone, and this guy was throwing down or wanted to.
Yep.
And outside the bars in Florida, a half-naked man began to take on people, spitting in people's faces,
Oh,
running around grabbing people. Yeah.
Why is it always half naked? I mean, if you're gonna go in why don't you just go all out?
Yeah. Exactly. Get naked.
Right?
Why do anything? There's too much doing things halfway in this country.
Exactly. Got to be dedicated.
So, no shoes, no shirt, and
no service.
The arrest report reported that he had a strong smell of service of an alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
They put him on a bench to gather himself, but unfortunately, he wouldn't gather himself. And he threatened to beat up everybody. He shouted to the crowd that was gathering, "Don't get your D caught on the pony."
He's an angry
What
elf.
is that? Is that some kind of anyway? EMS came. There was a rolling around. You know, they had trouble subduing him, and he said, "I'll F your ass up. Let's go." He said this to the medic, and finally he was put into physical restraints and taken away. So many Florida stories end that way, and indeed this one ends in similar fashion. So, yeah, well, it's just, I'm saying
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Yeah, exactly. It does move it to a fun place. We do need to pick a favorite, and we will do it after we play the close of Friday Fabulous Florida. Tony, if you have the close, the finish to Friday Fabulous Florida, that would be...
this has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
We need to pick a favorite. And before you pick a favorite in the chat, I'll remind you, and then all of us will pick a favorite as well. I'll remind you of the stories. Florida man threatened employees with a gun when his chicken wing order was late. You'll recall it was more than an hour late. That is, I would say that might be a squad leader. Florida man seriously injured after flying homemade airplane. And of course, he landed in the trees. Florida man claiming the sheriff's Wheel of Fugitive video cost him his job. He said, "I was already on probation. Why am I still up there as one of the 10 most wanted?" The Florida man getting 6 years for being one of the top meth dealers in Bradenton, Florida. The Florida man confessing to stealing DJ equipment worth $65,000 that he pawned for $21,000. The Florida man screaming at cast members and hitting security at Epcot. And the drunken fighter, half naked, who was finally hauled off by the cops after closing time. I ask you for your favorite, please. John Daly.
I think I have to go the first story.
You like the story about what was the first story? The employee threatened with a gun after the chicken didn't come up on top.
Chicken.
Yeah. Chicken story is where John is.
Well, I am from Petaluma.
Okay. Wing says, Joe, chicken wing guy getting a lot of the wing dude. Drunken fighter, though, seems the most Florida, says Eric. John Anderson, chicken wing dude. Homemade airplane. There is some love for that from Walter. Kind of like the last one, said Chris Ogburn. What is it with chicken wings? Is that all they eat in Florida? Guns and chicken wings from Beth. Chicken wings from Christopher. Drunken fighter.
Sprinkle a little meth on your wings.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Disney, says Julie, the guy out of control. I want my buffalo wings, says Calvin. Lou, says Chicken Wing Man. Annoying as it must have been. He is the one she wants. Wheel of Fortune, says JR. Yeah. Wing Dude, etc. Wing Dude in the distinct lead. I ask you, Kim, what is your favorite?
I have to go with the fugitive wheel because I don't see anything like that happening in California. It is a distinctly Florida law enforcement move.
Yeah, to screw it up and to put somebody on the wheel who's not really most wanted.
Well, just to have a wheel.
Just to have a wheel at all. It's,
a fugitive wheel, yeah. I just like the idea of that, yes.
Tony, what is your favorite, sir?
I mean, chicken wing, I identify with that guy. I get it. But come on. But homemade plane is definitely Florida for me. Like, I'm making my own plane crash. Just come on.
I think homemade plain is strong. Plain, the wheel of fugitive, and chicken. To me, that's your, one.
Well, and he
two,
probably
three.
didn't get all the sauces that he asked for either.
I don't. And I also want to know where those pictures I was supposed to get last week. I'm going to go with the chicken wing guy also, and thank you for playing. Yeah, it was a close one today. All right, in our last minute or two, we really don't have any time, but give me 30 seconds update on John Daly. Everything good, John Daly?
Yeah, it's all good. It actually rained here in the city, so I had to move things around because there wasn't enough light.
Oh,
so yeah.
Yeah,
it's all good. It's all good in the hood.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what
I'm digging the graphics.
Yeah.
You got those transition graphics now.
Yeah, we're trying, and they'd be even more seamless if we weren't on remote. A lot of the stuff is kind of just as it were. But thank you for saying that. And that is from a graphic artist in North Bay, somewhere in either Marin or Sonoma. I don't know where, but she's been really great.
Send her some chicken wings.
She said, I don't need you to identify me. If you're going to mention anything, just say I'm a graphic artist in the North Bay. So there it is. But she really
and
does
sending positive energy to your dad and your whole family.
Thank you, pal. You're very, very kind. We love you. Thank you for joining. And I'm hoping that you'll join again. We love having you in on Fridays. It's a very
it's fun.
cool. Yeah.
It's fun.
John Day, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
John?
Bye.
Very, very cool. So, Kim's News will do a turbo version. And then a little politics and world events with Jim Avila and Michael.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And now Kim's.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. We'll start with this story because it appears Americans' confidence in law enforcement is hitting a new low. A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows just 41% of respondents believe police treat white and black people equally. Confidence in police training also dropped to 39%, falling 15 points since 2014. 9 states are now asking a federal judge in Texas to shut down the DACA program. They claim the Obama administration overstepped its authority when creating this program, which shields illegal immigrants who were brought across the border as kids. But Jose Rodriguez Sanchez at Rice Bakers Institute argues that the United States is experiencing a labor shortage, and more immigrants would actually help solve that. California's largest utility is helping customers get behind the wheel of an electric car. PG&E launching a new rebate program to offer up to $4,000 to those who buy or lease a pre-owned electric vehicle. The exact amount depends on household income. PG&E says the program will help offset costs. The goal, give $78 million to make these cars more affordable. Those interested can submit an application online. And there is, let's try to share this. I don't know if you can help me out, Tony, but there is a California biotech company hoping for a medical breakthrough. It's called Loyal, a fitting name for their mission. Researchers trying to help dogs live longer. They are in the trial stage of testing drugs which would be given to dogs every 3 to 6 months. The CEO says early results are promising. She hopes to get FDA approval by 2025. Shelters point out this could potentially lead to thousands of more dogs being rescued. This is the website. It's called Loyal, giving our best friends more time. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, you want them to live longer, but I see the point. If they do live longer, a lot of people try to get rid of their dogs as they get older. So then do you have more senior dogs in need of rescue? I don't know. I would like to spend as much time with my dog as I could. There's some extra security planned for the Lunar New Year celebration in San Francisco. This is tomorrow, the Chinese New Year parade. The nation's largest celebration will have more officers than last year. Volunteers spending today putting the finishing touches on their floats. Nearly 100 groups will also take part in welcoming the Year of the Rabbit. The highlight, a 288-foot-long golden dragon, which symbolizes power, luck, and strength. The parade kicks off about 5:15 p.m. tomorrow. It's likely to rain, but this event going on, rain or shine. And the Powerball jackpot, up to $700 million. It is the jackpot is now the 6th largest in the history of the game of the Powerball. There is another drawing tomorrow night. So let's play. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Man, these Powerballs really blow up quickly, don't they?
Yeah, they do. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, with your business, with a business plan, Steve does a lot of different things. You can give him a call at 888-TAX-DEAL. There it is right there. Or MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve is the one. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What up, everybody? We are live from Washington, D.C. Yes, you can smell the dirty dealing and the lobbyist money from here. That's what's so great about it. It's always a pleasure on Fridays, two guys who give them their own time to join us and give us some healthy perspectives on what's going on in the world and going on in the world of politics. Michael Shure has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. He's a great addition to this show. You can see him on TYT, and he's covered everything from Trump rallies to COVID awards. He's Michael Shure, everyone. Please hold your applause until I introduce the second of our
wanted
panel.
to clap for him, though.
Yes, I'm sorry, and holding applause is oftentimes a difficult thing to do, but let's try to do it. I also want to welcome a guy who is the senior correspondent at ABC Television, longtime White House correspondent. Now, please put it together for Jim Avila, if you would, as well. And now for Michael and Jim, a healthy round of applause, if you will.
Morning.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim gets the applause. I get it.
It was an awkward moment.
I tried, though.
I tried to hold the applause.
Kim, you have all my respect.
I try to be there for you, Mr. Shure.
Yeah,
I try to.
No,
Yeah.
I understand.
I usually somehow will botch the introduction, but I'm grateful for both of you. Michael's on a stakeout. That's why he's where he is. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when it's the Mark Thompson Show, you do what you can to get on air. And
yeah, exactly.
Today,
Thank you.
Today
what are you in the Target parking lot? Where are you?
No, I'm on a stakeout. I'm in my car on the street and
okay.
You know.
Yeah, it's on a need to know. I don't think you need to
it's a need
answer
to
that,
know.
Michael. It's not like you need to. Yeah, I don't feel
private.
obligated.
And outside your house, Kim.
Super secret location.
And here's the odd thing. Michael's signal from his car is better than mine, which is supposed to be on some high, speed Wi-Fi here from my mom and dad's house in Washington, D.C. All right, now.
Jim's outside today.
Yeah, well, Jim's outside. He's been outside before. Yeah,
he took it away. Yeah, he's outside on the patio.
But he's not. He doesn't have the American flag view today. I don't think.
Yeah, I had to change things up a little bit.
It's too backlit, I think, the American flag, and but he'll have the occasional ambulance or fire truck rolling by to remind us he's out. Anyway, all right, boys, the preliminaries are over. Let's get into it. I thought, and I will get to politics, and I will get to AOC, and I will get to Ilhan Omar. Just give me a second or two, though, on this diplomatic crisis, or certainly an awkward diplomatic moment with this Chinese surveillance balloon. Jim, you first.
Well, I think it's interesting, nice movie plot, but I from what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like anybody in the State Department or the Defense Department are all that worried about it. It's not like allegedly it's did something just happen here?
No, that's just the picture of the balloon. We have it.
Oh,
up
okay,
there.
sorry.
Yeah,
It's evidently you can't see anything from there that you can't see from their satellites already. We're not exactly in the middle of or planning a nuclear strike at this point, so I don't think it sounds like it. I mean, it's fun, but it doesn't sound like it's a big deal. Although Blinken has the Secretary of State has postponed or canceled his trip, which means that they're trying to send some kind of message that this is not cool. But they're not overreacting, which is good. We got enough problems in Ukraine. I don't think we need problems in Montana.
And Michael, this is happening at a time when we're trying to get on more positive footing with China, right?
Yeah, it is, and that's what I think that is the biggest sort of takeaway from this is what it could do to. I mean, as Jim said, Blinken canceling his trip means that the positive footing has certainly lost a little bit of its balance here, and so I think, you know, I also am with Jim. You sort of take your cues from the people that matter. You'll see overreactions certainly on the right in Congress, and there's unquestionably the House is going to overreact to this. But if the people that matter most are not, and when I talk about that, it's the intelligence community, it's the defense community, it's the Secretary of State, when they're kind of just sort of slow playing it, as it were, then I'm not as concerned. It's just, it seems like it's a strange hiccup in what, as you said, Mark, it seemed to be ramped up, I guess, amity between the two countries for a while.
A story just came out about this balloon. The president aboard Air Force One says it is a clear violation of American sovereignty, but they're not going to shoot it down because of falling debris, which we talked about earlier. They say it's going to be over American airspace for a couple of days. China, though, is saying this is a weather research balloon that just blew off course. That's all. Nothing to see here.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I mean, there are all sorts of explanations for what this could be, but China should sort of, if it blew off course, should get it back on course or get it down. Why does it have to stay up? And I believe the off course thing when I hear that it's over Montana, which is a very big state with probably reserves and things that we don't know very much about, but it doesn't seem like the focus of what we'd be most scared of is in Montana.
Yeah, I mean, the way the Montana part's played is that they're missile silos there, or they're military installations there, so military-related activities or one sort or another. Moving on, let's get to what's
just
happening.
One other point, Mark. It's not as if we don't do this. I mean, come on. We're looking at people. We can see you walking down the street. I mean, it's
but not with a balloon.
This is not. It's not. It's. I mean, we certainly use balloons along the border.
Do we?
And we. Oh yeah, along our border.
We had better satellite technology than that. We didn't need to resort to,
we use
technology.
We use tethered balloons all along the Mexico-U.S. border, and as far as these type of balloons, surveillance balloons, I don't know specifically if that's true. We do have incredible satellite pictures, and it wouldn't surprise me if balloons help that we have them. I mean, we spend so much money on the military that if it's available, we have it.
Yeah.
I mean, Kim is a little bummed out that that balloon technology is still being used, is what I sense. But these are not like balloons.
1970.
No. But these are not like balloons at a kid's birthday party. Obviously, these are really sophisticated technologies. They're called balloons, but they obviously have capacities and capabilities that will be.
And there are weather. I mean, weather balloons are a common, as you know, Mark, are a common. Part of meteorology, and so that when you hear China say it's a weather balloon, why they're checking the weather over Montana is another question.
Well, I talked about weather balloons in the first hour. People missed it. I actually spoke I gave you a minute or 90 seconds on exactly how weather balloons work and why they're significant and why they're different than surveillance balloons. But for anybody who might have missed it. All right, I want to get to what's happening in Congress. There were a couple of key moments and some shuffling of committees. Committees are now controlled by GOP. I wonder if I have the AOC sound. I think you wanted that, Jim, to just speak to a situation with Ocasio-Cortez. Do you want to give us a sense of what happened, and then I'll play the sound? Or and essentially,
sure.
She was bounced from a. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, she wasn't, but her friend, also on the squad, who was the Somalian woman, immigrant from
Ilhan Omar, yeah.
Right, who represents Minnesota. She was bounced because of previous anti-Semitic tropes, which she has used, which she has apologized for and taken back and explained that she didn't really understand it. She got some education. She was certainly taken to task by members of her own party. But because Marjorie Taylor Greene and the nutcase from Arizona were taken off of committees by the Democrats because they threatened violence against other congresspeople, including AOC. AOC just did one of her, she knows how to communicate. You may not agree with everything she says, but she is an excellent communicator, especially on social media. And I think you ought to play what she had to say about this hypocrisy.
This is what she said on the floor of the House in relation to Ilhan Omar being bounced for reasons related to her anti-Semitic remarks, which, as Jim says, she'd apologize for. Tony, please.
Republican. And you all and the Republican caucus, a member of the Republican caucus threatened my life, and you all and the Republican caucus rewarded him with one of the most prestigious committee assignments in this Congress. Don't tell me this is about consistency. Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes, and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
Now, so that was, you're right. That was really owning them on the hypocrisy of it all. And
yeah, and the whole thing is pretty hypocritical. Is Michael back? Okay, good. I'll let him talk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. Something happened with my signal for a second.
Well, all we just ran was the AOC.
Yeah, I saw most of that. Yeah. Okay. What was Jim saying?
I was just highlighting that it's the height of hypocrisy of what they're doing, and she called him out on it just beautifully. I mean, one of the things she does more than anything else is able to really go to the heart of the hypocrisy of Marjorie Taylor Greene and her buddies.
Yeah, no, it's true, and and the speaker is saying that it is not about revenge, but it's hard to look at this as anything but revenge for what the last speaker did to Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene on the grounds of endorsing violence. And so I think that that's part of what this speaker is going to have a hard time with all the way, is whether or not he's going to veer in a different direction or be as petty as they have been for a very long time. And the pettiness seems to be ruling the day already. Now, there were 3 members of that committee who said that they would not vote for the removal of Omar. 3 Republican members of the committee who said they would not vote for the removal of Omar until there was a provision in there that allowed her to appeal this. And once that was put into it, they did vote to remove her. Nancy Mace of South Carolina, I believe Victoria Spartz of Indiana, and one other. And so maybe it was Ken Buck of Colorado. But regardless, what this says is that they're trying to allow Omar to appeal this, and there are some Republicans at least who thought that this was going too far on its surface, but again, they all turned around and voted for it.
Yeah, it's disturbing to see the Lauren Boeberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world who don't even have command of facts and are obviously they're speaking around talking points that they don't even have straight. I mean, they're just on blast. They're just out.
The case in point that you to emphasize what you're saying, Mark, is Marjorie Taylor Greene on the floor of the House questioning a bureaucrat about PPG funds, which, by the way, she took and did not pay back. Said that a school in Illinois had gotten $5 billion to teach CRT, which I
think it was 5.1 billion, and the guy
5.1,
and the guy didn't know what CRT was either, which was great.
Right, because he just deals with that PPG stuff, and PPG doesn't involve CRT in any way. So he just kind of went by it. But the stupidity and the hypocrisy that is going on now in Congress. I still have this general faith in the American public that gets eroded on occasion, but I think it's going to backfire. And I think this kind of stuff is exactly what the Republican Party does not need and is going to lose among independents and going to lose elections because of it.
And what independents and mainstream, what we call mainstream Republicans, I guess they're Bush Republicans, excuse me, what they don't see, with the Republican Party, as Kevin McCarthy and the leadership there think that there's an equivalency between the farther left members of Congress and the farther right members of Congress, when that is in fact not true. And independents see through that. They don't look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the same way that they look at Lauren Boebert. There's a substance, whether you like her politics is another conversation, whether you think she's too far to the left, there are reasons to think that if you are not. But there's no equivalency between the substantive nature of what they're doing in Washington. And I think that's going to come back and bite the Republicans.
Can I throw this on the fire, as it were? Yesterday, apparently, the congressman from my area, Jared Huffman, here in the North Bay, sits on the Natural Resources Committee, and he proposed an amendment to bar guns in the room. He said, we have too many members who have incited and advocated armed political violence. And so there's a big debate over this. And Lauren Boebert, also on the committee, says during January 6th that she was not unarmed, she was de-armed, and she was unable to defend herself. So she needs to be packing a weapon in the halls of Congress to defend herself. But speaking of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, at the very end, she said, you know what? I don't want guns in this room. And they said, well, who do you think is there a mass murderer among us? Why do you think this is going to be a problem? And she said, I do question the competency of some people. And she kind of looked over at Lauren Boebert. That's the kind of thing. It's, yeah.
She was actually the subject of that. Was it Gomert who had the animation of her being killed? I mean, that's literally
AOC was the subject. Yeah.
AOC.
And I think,
but go ahead.
I think and just to point out, crazy that these people would have guns, period, going into the Capitol. There's no reason for them to have guns. They have security there. It's now really beefed up after January 6th, and they were the threat. And now, instead of those American flags, they're wearing these AR-15 pins.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. That is it is incredibly disgusting when there have been more shootings than there have been days in the year so far because of this. And it's just, it is so disrespectful to the victims. It's so disrespectful to what's going on in America today.
Yeah. In fact, George Santos was one of our viewers / listeners sent me the screenshot of George Santos wearing that AR-15 pin that was talked about. It's a crazy club.
But Boebert
I wouldn't think anyone want to be part.
Boebert wears it. Andrew Clyde wears it. A couple of the members of the Texas delegation have worn it. John Yarmuth, the former congressman from Kentucky, used to wear a red F on his lapel for the grade he got from the NRA. Sort of in the other direction, and he would give them out to other people who got F's. So, the lapel has been used before, but the Republicans are the ones who always, criticize presidents or other members of Congress who are not wearing an American flag. They seem to have replaced it because George Santos and Lauren Boebert and Andrew Clyde didn't have the American flag on; they had the AR-15 on.
Well, the American flag. I mean, I always give the left a hard time about virtue signaling of one sort or another. This is their version of virtue signaling on the right. It's but it's additionally despicable. It's loathsome. It's awful. It's stomach turning. This country's issues with guns.
A little aside, Jared Huffman has the best Friday night off the records on Capitol Hill with Napa wines and all the wines from the place he represents. John Yarmuth, who we just mentioned, used to do it with Kentucky bourbon, but it's a little different with Jared Huffman. They're good.
North Bay represent.
Represent the representative. Let me quickly, with our last couple of minutes with Michael Shure and Jim Avila, ask you about And by the way, the same kind of signaling is going on with that Pledge of Allegiance thing, where and there was a great moment where Gates gets owned on, it's sort of like, can't we say the Pledge of Allegiance twice a day? Can't we say it 3 times a day? This is the crap that is really associated with signaling and not really crafting any legislation that matters to anybody. And the knockdown on that was, well, can we make a provision so that anyone who is involved in trying to overturn this nation is not permitted to say to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Right. I want to ask you about Nikki Haley.
They also did the anti-communist referendum as well.
Oh, that's right. It's really worse than anti-communist. It's anti-socialist. So it's anti-socialism, and they forced that vote. And I thought the great takedown on that is this is the weirdest, most ridiculous legislation or bill possible, given the fact that it's a vote against communist China and it's a vote against Norway. I mean, it's a weird spectrum of countries that have socialism, including the U.S., I would suggest, on some level with some programs. Let me ask you about Nikki Haley. Michael, she announced this week that she wants to run for president.
Yeah, look, she's doing it apparently with some of the blessing of Donald Trump in terms of the fact that she reported to him that she was going to do it. And of course, he's just a candidate, so he's not the president who said, please don't do this. Do not do this. I will prevent you from doing this. You will be punished for doing this. South Carolina is a state that takes on greater importance because of the new schedule of primaries that are going to be put in place. I would say that as most candidates who run for president do, they get 2 or 3% in the first time that they go out and do it. Most, I'm saying. This seems like a real 2 or 3%er type of candidacy. I don't see a groundswell for Nikki Haley. She tried to sort of burnish her credentials when she was in the Trump administration. I don't know if that helps or hurts people, but I don't see it's going to be very difficult for Nikki Haley to break nationwide and get a lot of the Trump voters. And the more candidates that they have in that Republican primary, the better it is for Donald Trump, which is why he is inviting people basically to run, because he knows he has a solid base. And if they split everything else up, that hurts Ron DeSantis. Every vote that goes away from Ron DeSantis is not going to Donald Trump. It's going to somebody else. So Trump wants that to be a big part of what he's doing.
Don't you think
that's a real great take?
Yeah. She seems on the Republican scale a little more reasonable, a little like less wacko.
I think I don't know about wacko. I know that people before she joined the Trump administration thought that, and she lost a lot in many people's eyes for joining the Trump administration, even going to UN, which is not really as big a part of the cabinet or the agenda, but it does play, even though Trump didn't like the United Nations, and she was the envoy there. I think that she is popular in South Carolina, which is a Republican state, but you also have to remember Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina, also may run for president. And these may be auditions for the vice presidency of Ron DeSantis. But again, we can say that about any candidate running at any time. So it's a lazy piece of analysis.
I'll remind
I'm going to be just a little bit lazy about it.
Against a woman's right to choose.
Yeah, she's against the right to choose.
Right.
And I think, to be lazy about it, I really think she's running for vice president. I don't think that she has a legitimate shot. It's going to be Trump, DeSantis, possibly, but doubtful, Mike Pence. I don't think even the other people who are in Trump's administration really have a shot as long as Trump is involved, because they're getting support or hoping for support from the same base. And as far as moderates, they just have there's nobody in the moderate wing that can do anything. I mean, the Bushes are dead. Anybody who loved the Bushes are gone. They have totally ransacked the Republican Party of any. I mean, John Kasich has no chance of anybody who is a moderate. There's no way they can win in a primary.
Well, everybody with government documents that are classified should have a chance to win. That's all I'm saying. Get them all in there running. Bring the docs. We'll decide what's important. It's funny how that story, the half-life, you can feel it, going away. But we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up next time. What's that, Michael?
No, I was agreeing with what you were saying, Mark.
No, okay. Well, that's certainly. I applaud that. Yes.
Much to my detriment. Yeah.
We never went over the bones of a sad game. I'll just say the Niners. Once you have, quarterback after quarterback out of the game, it's not even a game anymore. And that's
it didn't feel like a loss. It didn't feel like anything. It just felt like that we were disqualified. And
that's exactly right. I think that's a fair take on it. Gentlemen, appreciate it so much. Jim Avila, thank you and Michael, thank you for being good friends of the show. I really appreciate you taking time every Friday for being here. Thank you. Okay, Jim Avila and Michael Shore, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, right on. So, Michael Snyder is in the green room. Yeah, very cool. Smash the like button for Avila and Shore, if you would. And when we come back, we'll get into all of that you can watch on in the movie theater, on streaming, etc. Live from Washington, D.C. It's a little in and out. That's just because it's cobbled together in the way it is, but we appreciate you being here. Kim's News next. And yeah, the show continues. Thank you.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. And there is another package, aid package, military aid, headed to Ukraine from the United States as Russia continues its invasion. It is worth $2.2 billion, and it includes Javelin anti-tank missiles, artillery ammunition, and long-range rockets. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanking President Biden, saying long-range weapons will help end Russia's brutal aggression sooner. This brings U.S. military aid to Ukraine to $29.3 billion since that war began. A top Southwest Airlines official is set to testify before senators next week following the airline's holiday meltdown. It canceled thousands of flights that left many travelers stranded. Chief Operating Officer Andrew Watterson will be part of a hearing being described as strengthening airline operations and consumer protections. So we'll see how they do with that. The family of a man named Amir Locke, here he is. They are filing a lawsuit 1 year after he was killed by police conducting a no-knock warrant in Minneapolis. Locke was sleeping on a couch in an apartment when officers broke through the door in search of a murder suspect. Locke was not the suspect, but he was fatally shot within 9 seconds after reaching for a gun that he legally owned. Today, attorney Ben Crump filed the civil lawsuit against that city, the police department, and Officer Mark Hanneman. This comes a day after activists gathered at the state capitol in St. Paul demanding justice and accountability. Elon Musk making some more changes to good old Twitter. Musk announcing the social media giant will now share ad revenue with creators for ads that appear in their reply threads. Users have to be a subscriber to Twitter Blue Verified to be eligible for all of that. And New Mexico could become the first state in America to have an official aroma. State Senator Bill Soul says a visit with 5th grade students in his district sparked the idea for this proposed legislation. The measure seeks to adopt the aroma of green chili roasting in the fall as the official aroma of New Mexico. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, Steve Moskowitz is the one who can do it for you. 888 Tax Deal is where you get a hold of him by phone. If you're looking to check out his website, see a little bit more about what he offers, you can find him at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
What up, everybody? We are live from Washington, D.C. This is, I know it's a doorway. It looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It does look interesting, though, doesn't it?
A pretty thick doorway. I mean, in,
Yeah, well, it's
in
someplace
houses in
to,
California, the threshold is like an inch thick. You have
yeah,
like,
it does have a thickness and a grandeur to it, but
it's substantial. Yeah.
well, it's substantial enough to prevent the Wi-Fi from getting here cleanly. That's why we're a little pixelated and in
Yeah.
and out. But it's
Back to the
great.
dining room table tomorrow, pal.
Yeah, tomorrow, and who knows? We'll get to. I'm right under the router, so it should be better. But this is. I appreciate everybody's patience with it because of my dad's illness and his situation physically, and I actually have to go right to the hospital right after this because of. I mean, it's nothing. He hasn't gotten worse all of a sudden, but they do need some stuff from me, so I need to get over there. But it's really and this guy who joins us on Fridays is a great regular and a longtime friend. We used to sit in the stands at the Giants games together. I mean, this is how long I've known Michael Snyder. But he comes and goes on a rainbow. That's right. He is. The culture blaster blasting for us on Fridays. Michael Snyder, everybody. Michael.
Hey, Mark. Hey, hi, Kim, and everybody else. And I was really fascinated to hear about the official aroma of New Mexico being green chili, because the official aroma of the San Francisco Giants fans is despair. So,
well, Champagne Wishes says homelessness is the official smell of California.
Oh, that is
What?
really yeah, that's a bit.
leave it to live chat. I listen. Thank you to the San Francisco 49ers, storied National Football League franchise, for a magical season wherein their most amazing feat was winning game after game while finessing the incredible disappearing quarterback trick. I mean, wow.
It's true. It really is true. And Michael Shore made the point that game didn't feel like a game. It felt like just, it was just something. So,
well, how does a team win when you run out of quarterbacks if you're playing football? And that's what happened halfway through Sunday's NFC Championship match. Still, that's my team, win or lose. And we got a mega talented roster, largely remaining in place. So the outlook on next season looks bright. Go Niners, go Warriors, go Giants. I'm on board.
Smash the like button for all of them.
With your iron rod.
I am
straight.
Loyal. Loyalty is one of my traits. So, before we get into the new movies that have been released today, I do want to talk briefly about this Tempest in a Teapot regarding the nomination as Best Actress of a British actress named Andrea Riseborough for a little film called To Leslie. And, it's funny when you review movies as part of your career profile, you rely on publicists to get you access to the films, to screenings or screening links. And it's always daunting when you don't get the access, especially during awards season. So in December, this movie To Leslie drops with, big dreams, even though it's made on a small budget. And I am never given access to it. And it has its theatrical run in LA and New York in order to be considered for Oscar nominations and the rest of the awards. And finally, it comes out in theaters and via streaming. And I finally caught up to it. And Andrea Riseborough is the star, and To Leslie is a positively harrowing look at the crippling nature and we'll call it the inexorable pull of addiction. And her performance is superb. Yeah, I know. Inexorable, right? Superb, heartbreaking. She's a skilled actress. She's from the UK, and you might be familiar with her work or not. She's done recent stuff like Matilda the Musical and Amsterdam, and earlier movies. She was I believe the female lead in Birdman, and she played opposite Tom Cruise in Oblivion. And she absolutely, remember, she's from the UK. She disappears into the role of an alcoholic single mother from Texas who wins over $100,000 in the lottery, blows it, and years later tries to reconnect with her son, who she had abandoned. And I'm telling you, people are complaining about the nomination and how she got it, but she deserves every accolade. And the Academy bitching about social media, contributing to an Oscar nomination campaign when movie studios spend millions and millions of dollars to promote various actors, actresses in films is, we'll call it hypocritical. Let's call it hypocritical.
I fully expected you to say after they had held back the screening, after, it came to you late, that you didn't like it, but it's just the opposite. You think that she really was terrific.
Absolutely. And I don't want to forget the incredible and memorable supporting work from a cast that includes Allison Janney, Stephen Root, Owen Teague, and a San Francisco comedy alumnus, Mark Maron, who we all know as podcaster supreme. And he's building a nice little filmography as an actor. And he gives a really fine, subtle performance, probably the best of his career to date, in a straight dramatic role here, directed by Michael Morris and written by Ryan Binaco. I would say to Leslie, is worth your time. It is rough riding because she will tear you up, Andrea Riseborough, in this, and she deserves accolades. Again, I think the apples and oranges nature of these award shows and people complaining about what seemed to be shortchanging actresses of color in the nomination realm, and whining about that. Fine, but don't deride this wonderful performance by Andrea Riseborough. That's all I'm saying.
There is just so much. There's so much virtue signaling around the awards, which are ridiculous anyway. As you've said before, you and I are complete agreement that you can't compare two performances in totally different projects to each other. You can appreciate them, but you can't, say one's a winner, one's not. And then it becomes a receptacle for all that societal, cultural crap. And so it's cool to hear you say that. So you're telling me it doesn't have a happy ending, though? That's what I'm getting.
No.
Well, I'm not gonna say that blatantly, but boy, it's brutal. I mean, again, the cycle of addiction is real and problematic, and lives are ruined, and this does not shy away from that. But I want to say how proud I am of Mark Maron, who used to show up on the old Alex Bennett show when I was there, and I always enjoyed hanging out with him. And also San Francisco luminary Linda Perry of Four Non-Blondes does a lot of the music into Leslie. So, I'm no degrees of separation from two people there, but that is not why I'm praising the film. I swear, honestly.
So if most of the time Academy Awards are, the nomination process as the studios throw a bunch of money at it and have this, kind of press thing that happens when they're promoting a certain actress or movie or actor to get nominated for an award, why would they be so upset about a grassroots campaign from a bunch of actors to promote a certain performance? I guess I don't.
I was going to say, Kim, the H word, the one we use toward the right wing of the GOP, hypocrisy. These people are angry because they found that the chosen golden folk that they were promoting with millions of dollars of for-year consideration and whatever, some of them got squeezed out. And whether they deserve to be recognized for their work, and yes, for instance, Viola Davis in The Woman King deserves praise. But, here we go. This is the way the situation played out. And I just think it's a ridiculous, again, a tempest in a teapot. I'll be watching the Oscars, and we'll talk about that when the show comes around and the presentations happen. But
how sad that Riseborough could do that, have such an amazing performance, and now it's tainted with all this. So it's almost like, well, they can't have her win because then it would be a big controversy. Or if she does win, it's going to be, have this tinge to it.
It's a little crazy, and there you have it. What are you going to do? Let's move on to some new movies that are opening today or becoming available on streaming. I want to start with a movie called Knock at the Cabin. The filmography of the director-screenwriter M. Night Shyamalan is a naughty thing. I mean, you have the early memorable chillers, you know, The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, fresh takes on genre movie making, spiced with unexpected and occasionally stunning reveals, then a series of pretentious misfires, including The Village and The Happening, then a return to form with The Visit and Split, then a couple more head scratchers, and now he's delivered Knock at the Cabin, and I'm happy to report that it's good, Shyamalan. Adapted by the director and a couple of co-screenwriters from a book of some repute. The cabin of the title is inhabited by a married couple, Leonard and Eric, and their young adopted daughter, Wen, who are on a vacation getaway in the woods. All is initially calm and idyllic until a burly, seemingly gentle man shows up accompanied by 3 companions, 1 more man and 2 women, knocks on the cabin door, and insists that Wen and her 2 daddies are the key to stopping the impending apocalypse. Wait. Did I mention that all 4 visitors appear rather ordinary, but are armed with crude weapons, as well as a rather disturbing set of beliefs? The question of how the beleaguered family can stop the apocalypse is the crux of Knock at the Cabin, and Shyamalan gives a solid piece of work here. It's a good job of building tension while addressing issues such as free will, the power of love and devotion, and the validity of theological beliefs and mysteries in the modern world. Hey, the cast is uniformly excellent, especially Broadway star Jonathan Groff, who you may recall as King George III in the original cast of Hamilton. And British actor Ben Aldrich from Pennyworth, among other things, on TV, the Batman's Butler prequel. They play the 2 loving fathers, and ex-wrestler turned thespian Dave Bautista. He was in the recent Blade Runner and Dune movies, but best known as Drax in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, giving his richest and most complex performance to date. I should note also that Rupert Grint, a.k.a. Ron Weasley from the Harry Potter movies, plays one of the cabin's unsettling visitors. I guess a Hogwarts education isn't what it used to be. Anyway, it may not be the best thing M. Night has done, but it's one of his better efforts. I found Knock at the Cabin to be a satisfying thriller with enough genuinely disturbing moments to generate a shiver or 3, and that's no knock. Knock at the Cabin is in theaters as of today.
Theaters. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. By the way, The Leslie is in theaters also only?
No, it's available on various streaming platforms, so you can seek it out, Mark. I think it's $6.99 in some cases, and it's powerful. It is. All right.
Now from Knock at the Cabin, we move on to. By the way, I forget who said it, but somebody said if you don't watch the trailer for Knock at the Cabin because it spoils the movie. Do you agree with that, or do you recall seeing the trailer?
I can't stand trailers that do that, and it does imply a lot of things. I tried my best not to get too detailed, and I did want to just say, though, it brings in the question of an apocalypse, which sounds like a bunch of baloney. Or if you're a devout religious type, it might be something to put the fear of whatever they perceive as God into their hearts. So it's part and parcel of it.
What else do you have for us, Culture Blaster?
Let's move on. The quasi comedy 80 for Brady is in some ways The Golden Girls Go to the Super Bowl.
I love this one. I'm excited about it. Is it good?
Well, that's in some ways. In other ways, it's simply a branding endeavor for Tom Brady Enterprises Incorporated at LLC. So it mixes recent sports history and geriatric humor to what the makers hoped was crowd-pleasing effect. Well, the best thing I can say about 80 for Brady is that it stars 4 actresses of a certain age, and we'll actually delineate their ages because I think it's important. Jane Fonda, 83, Lily Tomlin, 83, Sally Field, 76, and Rita Moreno, 91, women who I revere. Wow. And who can still get it done on camera, seriously. But this vehicle does them no favors. Over the course of their careers, Fonda, Tomlin, Field, and Moreno have done such superlative work, earned so much love, and generated such goodwill that it's possible to forgive them for a misfiring, cornball, not very funny bit of hero worship and brand enhancement that's actually based on a true story, Mark. Although,
wow. There's
completely and utterly fictionalized in the context of a genuine event. Specifically, the event is the 2017 Super Bowl between the New England Patriots, led by the now retired, or maybe that should be retired for now, quarterback, Tom Brady, a quarterback for the ages, and the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, we have a spoiler alert. That's the Super Bowl wherein Brady led the greatest comeback in NFL championship game history and beat the Falcons. Anyway, that tragedy aside, because, you know, if you're a 49er fan, trust me, that was a tragedy. The movie 80 for Brady was inspired by the fact that 4 elderly, as in 80-something women, who were Brady and Pats fans, somehow made it to that dramatic Super Bowl to root for their hero. So this was a rare chance for the quartet of Fonda, Tomlin, Field, and Moreno. And let me remind you, that's not a law firm. They could co-star in a Hollywood movie at this point in their careers. I would never begrudge them for cashing a paycheck, even one for this labored, albeit harmless comedy. Yeah, 80 for Brady is a chore to sit through, especially for those of us who are not Brady fans, even if we acknowledge his greatness. Its only saving grace is the chance to watch the ladies trying to make something palatable out of the obvious setups, the cliched jokes about aging, and the heavy-handed way the script tries to make the gals crucial to Brady's success in what ended up, by the way, as a nightmare game for the Falcons, a team that included, as offensive coordinator at the time, one Kyle Shanahan. Thus, it's a bitter pill for Niner fans. In his admittedly limited time in scenes shot specifically for the movie rather than legitimate game footage, Brady is pretty wooden, which does not bode well for his extravagantly rewarded television commentary career to come. Tight end Rob Gronkowski is on board as himself. He has so much more charisma in his minute or so on screen with Sally Field. Look, lame or gratuitous cameos are shoehorned into the movie. Billy Porter, Patton Oswalt, Andy Richter, and most egregious of all, Guy Fieri. As I said, it's intended to be a crowd pleaser. I am apparently not in that crowd. 80 for Brady in theaters. Caveat emptor.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. You know, you load that project up with that many gifted actors.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like a one-dimensional premise and, you know, kind of a lot of one-dimensional premises can actually take on 3 dimensions given that kind of casting, and with even a couple of revisions of script, but this didn't, apparently. So
it's schlock. I got to give you a quick heads up about a smaller film. This is not too Leslie, but it's maybe the sort of film that needs attention before it falls through the cracks. Baby Ruby is a lean indie film that takes a very astute and unsettling look at a new mother who begins to think of her incessantly crying baby as a demonic entity. I mean, in some ways,
God.
Screenwriter and director Bess Wall has turned the very real plight of postpartum depression into the stuff of horror movies, and it works. Joe is played by French actress Nomi Merlant, recently in Tar and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Terrific actress. And she's playing a well-regarded lifestyle journalist and influencer who's using her pregnancy as fodder for her popular vlog. And she and her artisan butcher husband, played by, are you ready? Kit Harington, heroic Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. They're living the good life until baby Ruby is born, and the infant's tantrums and needs turn Joe's life into a living hell. So, like, is Ruby's behavior normal? Is she sick? Is she vindictive with only a few days of life? Even a group of other local mothers who offer friendship and support are perceived as nefarious by the very vulnerable Joe. Maybe this isn't a depiction of postpartum depression, but an actual horror movie. Maybe it's both. In either case, Baby Ruby is incredibly effective in its attempt to illustrate the heavy responsibilities, the genuine pressures, and the occasional torment of caring for a newborn, particularly a bulky one. It is in theaters and streaming on demand at the usual places.
Wow. Wow. The Culture Blaster really blasted a lot today,
Yeah.
Kim.
Poor baby Ruby.
Yeah.
God.
But he liked Baby Ruby.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Baby Ruby is in theaters. Michael liked it. You just heard he had nice things to say. Not such
And-
nice things.
Wait. It's also available on streaming, Mark.
Oh, theater and streaming.
Yes,
Is it
sir.
bloody or is it more of a psychological thriller? Because that makes a difference to me. I don't want to see the gore when you're talking
No,
about
no,
a horror movie.
it's essentially psychological horror, and I think that it'll be impactful to you, and you may go, "Yikes!" Considering the fact that you are a mom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Kim. It might hit even harder for you.
Oh, trust me, there have been moments where I'm like, "Are you the devil? You could be."
Baby Ruby is that movie. 80 for Brady. Even though it was chock full of all that talent, all those cameos, and one of the most handsome, accomplished men in America when it comes to football, Tom Brady.
I'm so disappointed. I thought it was going to be fun and kitschy.
Well, no, Kim, you may be its target audience, Kim. Oh, I can't. I said it. I'm sorry.
That is strong. Love that.
How rude.
Yes, I do think that there's no way I can say it otherwise. Michael didn't like it, and so he's a pass. The Culture Blaster is on 80 for Brady. But if you want to see it, it is in theaters, and probably won't be long before you can stream it as well.
True.
Knock at the Cabin. There was some disagreement in the chat, Michael Snyder, Culture Blaster, about Shyamalan's work, some of which you put in the missed category and some of which you put in the hit category. I think that's a fair thing to say.
True.
But then what specific films you put in the hit category and missed categories, that's where there was disagreement in the chat.
Everybody's got an opinion, Mark, and I have mine on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yes, well, Culture Blaster on this one says it's a hit. He liked it. Knock at the Cabin is one of Shyamalan's good ones. He
One of his better movies, yes.
His better movies. He's not saying he's not over the moon crazy for it, but he does like it. Knock at the Cabin is in theaters. And the Culture Blaster liked the much talked about film To Leslie. It stars that Andrea Riseborough, and she's been nominated for an Academy Award for her performance, and it has been wrapped up in some controversy again. And the Culture Blaster felt that that controversy sadly takes from what is a virtuoso performance. He feels that this film is filled with really good performances, and hers is one of them. Isn't that a fair summary?
Yeah, hers is topping the pile. But again, kudos to our friend Mark Maron, our former radio colleague, who delivers a great supporting role performance. Before we get out of here, I do want to make one quick recommendation for TV lovers: Poker Face on Peacock. Ryan Johnson, the guy behind Knives Out and Glass Onion, created this Murder of the Week throwback to Columbo-style TV shows and wrote and directed the first episode. But instead of a rumpled Peter Falk, the crime solver here is a scruffy, cynical, gold-hearted savant played by Natasha Lyonne of Russian Doll fame, making this a considerable very different update of the 70s primetime mystery series Paradigm. I really am enjoying Poker Face with the spiky and spicy Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah, somebody mentioned Poker Face, I think, yesterday or the day before in the chat. John Watson said the sequel to 80 for Brady will be 90 for Jimmy. Yeah. Oh, it's John Smith. I said Poker Face, Mark. Courtney is Poker Face. Okay.
Really nice.
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't even know what that reference is, but it sounds funny.
Poker Face is sort of a Murder of the Week thing, and also
I see. Good. Okay. Yeah.
Like the old Columbo shows, there are stars of some repute in each episode, and so that's kind of cool. Anyway, I just wanted to squeeze that in there, buddy.
I love that you squeezed it in. You're a squeezer as well as a blaster. He is the Culture Blaster. You can read him in the Marina Times. You can find him on social media as the Culture Blaster, and you can find him here on Fridays. He comes and goes on a rainbow.
Really well.
Bye-bye, Michael.
Wait, Gung Hei Fat Choi, everybody.
Oh, yeah, Gung Hei Fat Choi. Right on, right on. Yeah. Very well played. Sadly, we have to leave soon, but not before we recognize so many of you have stepped up, even in small ways, some in big ways, to help keep us on the air. We don't hit you over the head with it, but when we do it, we try to make enough of a show of it that you get the idea. Without your contributions, we really can't stay on the air. We try to go the extra distance for you. You know, I'm live from my mom and dad's house, even as my dad is hospitalized right now. That's not to throw myself into some kind of sympathy thing. It's more to say, look, I'll honor this commitment. And my dad is very much into this as well. He would always say, I really like that. You're really impressed that you set up that show on YouTube. And I would say, well, Dad, it's not that. You go, no, don't say that. It's really, really great that you did it. That's the way my dad talks. Oh, and so I feel that in a certain sense, this continuing project honors him. And now, Tony, do we have
Yes.
All right. And here we go. Ms. Organic with $10 super sticker. Thank you.
Big shout out.
Ann Herring, a big Dan Ashley
Big shout out.
Thank you for the super sticker, Ann, for $9.99. Really, really cool. Both of you. Thank you. And Jan Carpenter for $4.99. Thank you so much. Yes, from Dan Ashley. Vivian Elshawa for $4.99.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Love that super sticker. Love the show. Aloha, baby. Walter, thank you so much. I love it, Walter. Thank you, my friend. Jim Slayton, always supporting, always with us. Up and away in my beautiful balloon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jim.
As long as it's not a Chinese balloon.
What's happening on Nikki's show, Kim?
We've got the appeals court ruling that lets domestic abusers keep their guns. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, we were going to do it today. Ran out of time. It's going to be appealed, but it's a big story.
So frustrating. It's like people can't be safe, you know? There's some relief coming for your PG&E bill. Looks like some rebates are coming from the government, but I think it's a pittance. We'll see how that pans out. Tim Sega's talking movie, so we'll see if he has the same opinion as Michael Snyder. I don't know. I like to compare and contrast with these two.
Compare and contrast. That's a good way to do it.
Yes, and we'll get to the Friday food segment as well, so that'll be fun.
I love the Friday food. Luis! Bravissimo, Luis. Friday's always fabulous. Thank you all, and thank you, Luis. For the $4.99. If you're watching us in replay, you can leave us a contribution. The heart with a $sign there. If you can find it in your heart, leave us something. Helps keep us on the air. There's also Patreon and PayPal. I'll update that whole situation on Monday. We have a good situation with that. William Guy for $3. The Northside Service Company for $10. William Guy for $3. Oh, I love it.
Sorry,
Thank you, guys.
Back and forth. Whippy.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Really appreciate it. The last minute. Bum. Everybody have a good weekend. Slide over to Nikki's show, and we'll be back on Monday. I will say that. Thank you.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Shadow. All the time. Bye-bye. Until Monday, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.